You think?
Well, first let's do consultation so they can see what it looks like this way. This is Shamilah. She usually wears hair extensions. She loves the long, long hair. So this time, tell us what you did.
Well, I have a full head weave-in. Well, all my hair is braided up in like a beehive. French braided. It's a certain pattern that you use depending on how you want to wear your hair. So I have the part down the middle. And then the tracks are sewn on to the braids, so it lasts like 3 months. And that's what this is.
So, let's say this is a top view or a back view of Shamilah. And let's say she's got the tracks. I don't know what pattern it's on, but let's
pretty
say,
much, yeah.
Let's say,
what it looks like.
yeah, these are her braids, and it's just braided. All of her natural hair is all braided. It's okay. It's all braided. Then we take the long weft of hair and sew it on. They cut them in strips, and they get sewn onto those. So, when I elevate this to cut it, she's going to want some layers. So when you elevate hair extensions to cut them, if I were to take this and elevate it and cut it, and then I take the next weft of hair and elevate it and cut it, let's say there's a 2-inch gap between this braid and this braid, that corner and that corner. Let's just say there's a 2-inch gap in between. When I lift it and I cut it and then I let it down, when it falls, I'm going to have, these strands, let's say, lay here. And these strands are going to lay 2 inches down. And I'm going to have a step between that and that. Because there's 2-inch difference, I'm going to have a 2-inch step in between when it falls. So that's why you don't elevate hair extensions. Real hair, every single, if this was her natural hair, every single strand of hair I would elevate. So there would be hair in between these 2 inches. Hair here and here and here and here. And so when I let that down, there isn't a 2-inch gap because all the hair, it's one strand after the other, after the other, after the other falling down. So that's the difference. So you cut hair extensions a little differently. You don't elevate like we do on a normal layered haircut. But let's talk to Shamilah about the length. What about the length, Shamilah? Are we touching the length?
No, I like the length. I just want, because it looks wiggy to me. It's just like so much hair. When it's curled, some people like it, but I personally feel like it needs some shape to it. It needs some type of, something. So,
So do you see that? She wants movement.
Yeah.
When she does this, she wants movement.
Yeah.
And it is thick here.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hair here, and then it gets, of course, thinner here. And as we layer more, the same is going to happen. It's still going to look thinner down in here. So probably I'm not going to, and you can kind of see the back of her hair, I'm probably not going to layer down low too much. I'm probably going to take a little bit more out of the top layers so that she has more movement up here. And just check her ends to make sure that it's consistent, because the tracks were put in, but it wasn't cut to make sure that it's even. So I'm trying to save her length. Obviously, she paid a lot of money for the hair. I'm not going to take off the length, but I'm going to even it out. So if you look down, whenever you do a zero, it's best to have the client look down. By the way, I'm doing her haircut dry. It's harder for me to do it dry. For me as a hair, you have more control when the hair is wet than when it's dry. But I'm definitely going to do it dry to see how it's going to look. And I'm going to take a look and see her ends. And before I start cutting this section, what if I cut this section and the next one I bring down, because this is not real hair. And I don't know how the tracks were put in, and I don't know if her braid was uneven, then let's say, it wasn't even. Let's say it went in an angle, and you put 22 inches from both sides. Obviously, one side is going to be higher than the other side. So I don't know that the tracks were put in right. So before I start cutting, I want to take a look overall, and then see what I need to do. This is what the longest area is. It looks like it's doing this, almost like a V, too, so I want to keep that in mind before I start cutting. Okay, no, it's good. So I'll start in the middle. You're looking down? Okay. And I'm just going to start with just cutting as little as I can and then take a look at it. I cut maybe a 1/2 inch. Okay, so I cut her length. I just checked it. Now for the layers. what I'm going to do is take a section. Can you see when I lift it, you can see where the tracks are and how wide apart they're divided? Okay. So when I lift her hair and I comb it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to skim off the top. Okay, so with this hand, I'm going to pinch the hair. With this hand, I'm going to establish where my guide is. I'm not going to cut down. I'm just going to cut this way, and I'm going to not open and close my scissor all the way. I'm going to just do this. As I'm doing that, I'm going this way. So my left hand is going that way, my right hand is following it. Not down, because that'll give me aggressive layers. That'll also give me deeper layers, meaning that if I layer up on here, on top, if my scissors are pointing down to the ground, I'm going to layer some of this hair too. I want to save her length. I don't want to cut this hair down here. I just want to cut this hair up in here. All of this is what I want to cut. And I want it to blend to her length, obviously. Remember, the hairdresser put a lot of hair up on top and not so much on the bottom. If I point my scissor down and I layer down, you'll be able to see through her hair. You know, at the bottom, it'll be very thin and it'll be sparse, and you'll see through it. I don't want that. I want the bottom to look thick. So, let's establish a guide. And this one strand I could elevate to establish my guide. That's no problem. You can see her hair length. So, establish a guide. We talked already. We said we're going to take off about that much hair. So this is my guide. I'm going to start in the middle of the back. And I will take a section. I'm not going to elevate too much. I'm going to hold it low. There's my guide. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. Okay. My length, do you see that piece that just fell? Mm-hmm. For sure I don't want to cut that. I want to cut to that, but not all of that. So, here's my guide. I can see it. As soon as I see my guide fall, right there, it just came out of there. You guys see that? My scissor will go in. I'm pointing it horizontally, not down. Horizontal, and I'm opening and closing, and I'm skimming off the top. And my left hand is sliding, and the right one is following. I am cutting hair, but I'm cutting it from the top. So let's pick that up again. Because it's dry too, the hair will slip out of your fingers, so you want to just pick it up again and make sure. So there's my guide, and skim. How much skimming? Depends. I don't know. I'm going to skim some, let it fall, and take a look at it. So I'll do, you can kind of start to see the layers going in there. I'll do this length first, and then I can decide whether I want to go more aggressive. So when I pick up a section, I'm dropping what I don't want to trim at all. I'm dropping the guide, the 0. And I established my guide in the middle. I held the hair straight from where it grows. Now I'm cutting this section here. So I cut the middle one. This is my guide. Now I'm cutting this section here. So I want to bring the guide to the section I'm cutting. I don't want to bring the section that I'm cutting to my guide. If I do, I'm going to over-direct. It's going to get longer. So this is the guide. I'm bringing it this way. So I'm holding it straight from where the hair grows that I am cutting. Look to where it grows and skim. I dropped the bottom too soon, so I'll pick it up again. And I'm going to use the same technique all the way around the head. At the end, because it's extensions, because they're placed some distances apart, I might still, even though I didn't elevate per se, I might still need to go in with my thinning shears and do blending. Thinning shears are very important when you're doing extensions, especially if you're trying to blend the extensions to the client's natural hair. In Shamilah's case, we're not. We left her hair alone, and we're not trying to blend it from her hair out. But who had their hair? Asia, when she wears her extensions, we had to kind of blend her hair to the extension so it'll look a little more natural. So when you do that with thinning shears. That way you're not really shortening the client's natural length, but you're thinning the ends so that it blends with the fake hair. The real hair is going to blend better with the fake hair. I'll do it at the end when we're done here to see if we need to blend in better.
What about when using a razor?
Razor you don't want to use on dry hair necessarily, okay. Yeah. Because it's gonna dull the razor.
Yeah, and make it poofy like. like scraggly a little bit.
Straggly, which, that's what you want though with extensions. You don't want the ends blunt. Because fake hair is wider in diameter. And so if you make it blunt, it looks fake, you know.
Yeah.
If you make them wispy on the ends, it's gonna have more movement, and the movement is what's gonna make it look more real.
Right.
A wig doesn't move a lot, but real hair does. And so movement is the key. Thinner ends and movement is the key on extensions to look natural. Okay, remember how I did that one piece and I established the guide? Well, I don't have a guide here. And remember, I'm going to do some wisps around the front too. So I need to give myself a guide here to see how long or how short I want to do them. So let me take a piece from her guide. So do you see this guide here? So I want to bring that guide forward to the front. I'll point cut, just because I'm elevating. So that's going to be my guide for the layers on the side here. So I just took that from the back. How am I going to get a guide for the other side? I'll just take a guide around her parting and match it. That way I'll have a guide for the other side. Do you see my guide?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you left out your hair at the top?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit? The
Yeah.
front?
Not no, I left it out like yeah.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
So that's my guide for that side, and this is my guide for this side. So there's my guide from the top. Of course, on the sides, there's less hair. There's less wefts. So I have to be more careful. I'm going to drop more hair down and layer less hair. Because if I layer too low, she's not going to have any hair on the side. There's my guide. Let me go ahead and show you, since I'm on this side, how we would do the wisps. Now her bangs are here. She already mentioned they were too short, so I'm probably not going to go from the bangs on down.
But what do you think if I did? I'm not like against it.
You're not against it. I think it's going to be too thick right here.
Okay. Because I kind of like take this little stupid piece and put it back there a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So you can't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a little
so
bit.
I think, so if we cut those real short, I think it's going to be too thick and fall too heavy there. That's just my opinion, though.
Well, I trust you.
We can go longer, and then we could always go
Okay.
shorter,
Yeah, yeah,
see
yeah.
if you don't like it. Okay, so look at her features. She's got beautiful cheekbones. This is an area that I'd like to accentuate. You know, I want to bring attention to that area. So on a client, you have to look at your clients too. For example, me, I have a square jawline. I'm wide here. So that's why I like to have these little pieces here, because that'll help narrow this out. So you want to look at your client and see what feature you want to hide or enhance. For her, her cheekbones, her eyes. So the higher the layers go, the more focus I'm going to bring to her beautiful features. And that's what I want to do. So in my opinion, I think these first layers should go from about her cheekbone on down. But of course, I have to ask her too.
I agree.
Agree. So just like I skimmed off the top, I'm going to skim off from the front. So I'm going to do the same exact thing I did with the layers, except my scissors are going to go here. They're not going to point straight back, because if they do, I'll cut the whole side off. I want them to point straight down and continue to slide. I'm going to do the same thing I did before. This hand's going to hold the hair. This hand's going to open and close and follow, open and close and follow till I get down from the front. So I'll establish a guide. By the way, look. I'm here and her shoulder is here. It's in my way. So I'm elevating. I don't feel like I have complete control. But if I ask her, can you look that way? Then look, I can get much closer. So if you're doing a zero haircut like a bob, where precision is very important, this is a good thing. You're not elevating anymore. I'm at a true zero here. So I'm going to ask her to do that. Then I will go in a little lower than her cheeks. And I'm just opening and closing and sliding my finger down. I'm not closing my shear all the way down because I don't want to cut all that hair off. I just want to skim off the front. I should have shown you how much hair I cut. So I cut. By the way, okay, so when I was going down, my scissor, this blade was sitting on this finger. my hair was pinched here. Imagine this is the hair. My hair is pinched in there, and I was doing this. So there's no way I'm going to hurt myself. I also have a sturdy something to sit on. I'm not freehanding it where I could make a mistake. It's sitting nice and solid, and all I'm doing is doing this. So I'm going to watch and see how it falls, and see if I need to do a little bit more, or if that might be enough, or if I need to go higher. See the way it falls? This is falling. I combed it this way, and I did it, but the hair is actually falling forward. And on clients, the same thing is going to happen. Sometimes the hair grows forward, sometimes it grows back, you know, whatever position. So you have to let the hair kind of fall how it's going to fall, and then cut it that way. Because if I force it back and I cut it, and it's going to fall forward, it's going to look different. I'm not going to fight it. I'm going to make it do what it wants to do, and I'm going to make it look better. So I'll comb it forward like it's going to fall, and just go with it. So my middle finger is where I want my guide to start. You see, I'm touching her cheekbone, or underneath her cheekbone. So as soon as I slide my middle finger down a little bit so that I can have some room, now I'm going in. Okay, and let's see what I did there. I kind of stopped before I went all the way down, because remember, I don't want to thin this out too much. I want thickness here. So let's see. You can see where these shorter pieces are going. And remember, as soon as I'm done, I'm going to take my thinning shears and I'm going to play a little bit more in there. Okay, let me do the other side. I am right-handed, so I can't be this way, because how am I going to skim off the top? So I've got to stay on this side of the hair. See where my guide is? There's my guide right there. Let it fall. As soon as it falls, I go in. Okay, did you notice the texture of the hair too? Up on top, it's much more blunt than the bottom, even though that I'm cutting it too. Watch right here, you'll see. This piece here is thicker because there's a lot more hair here, so I'm gonna definitely have to go in with the thinning shears. But notice on the ends there, they're not thick because there's less. Okay, so now I have to do this side. How am I going to even it out? If it was real hair and I parted in the middle and I took a piece and made a guide, I could take that same piece, bring a piece from this side, you know, connect it, give myself a little snip, and that'll be my guide for the other side. But I can't do that with Shamilah. So I have to stand. If there was a mirror, I'd look in the mirror. But I'm going to stand in front and kind of see where the shortest piece is. There it is there. See where it hits her. And take a piece on this side. And stand in the front and kind of bring them together. And establish a guide this way. So I always make it a little longer than I think, just in case I made a mistake. So I'll bring that over. And there it is right there. Okay, so I'm good there. So that's my guide. I'm going to do the same thing, but since I'm right-handed, I don't want to cut up. It's going to look a little funny. I'm going to be a little awkward, but I'm going to do it this way. Or I could do it this way, but I like to go this way. So I'll pick up the section. As soon as my guide drops, there it is, it just dropped. My shears go in, and I'm doing the same thing, opening and closing till I get down to the bottom. There will always be one side that you're comfortable doing, and then the other side's a little more awkward. I wasn't aggressive enough, so I'm going to do it again. Okay, that's better. Now I'm gonna take my thinning shears. Okay, so do you see this blunt part right there? I don't know if you guys can see it. There's a blunt piece here. It's too thick. So I can do this a couple of ways. If it's cut in an angle this way, and I go straight in with my shears and I go exactly the same way, that's gonna work. But I could also point cut with my thinning shears in different directions. That way it'll soften it up even more. So that's what I'm gonna do. You see this piece right here? Do you see how blunt it's falling? I don't like that piece there. So I've got to soften it up. Plus it's the first one. So I really need to soften it up so it'll look more natural. Go in different directions and see what I need to do to make it look more even. Let's see. Yeah, and do you see how it already softened the ends? Yeah, that's better. I'm going to actually go through and just, with my thinning shears, just open and close and take off some of this top layer bulk. If you've never thinned somebody's hair before and you comb their hair and they see this, they kind of panic in the mirror because, you know, she can't see right now, but if I had a mirror, she'd be able to see. So you let them know what you're doing. You're cutting 50% of the hair. If I'm using this kind of thinning shear, I'm cutting about 50% of each section off. It's going to look softer when you thin it. Okay, so when you're curling with the curling iron, I had to just check to see if the temperature was okay for her hair. When you're curling with the curling iron, you want to go close to the root. Get the curl from the root. You know, if you want fullness or volume, you want to keep your curling iron close to the root. If you don't, then you're going to slide it down and just curl the ends. So it depends on what you're looking for. For Shamilah, I know her. She likes hair. So I'm going to curl right from the root so that I can get it to bend right from the root. We feed the ends in last because we're professionals. We don't do the traditional put your ends in and then wind it up. We put it from the root on out, right? Because if I put it from her ends are going to get damaged before I even get any heat on her root. So I'm just going to go around and curl it to see what it's looking like.
Yolanda's doing good. She's going really hard in the esthetician stuff. Yolanda.
I see movement.
There is movement.
Yay.
Yeah, still very thick, actually. So you can see it too as you walk.